Okay, all right. A very good evening to all people who are joining us this evening, and a very good evening to Mr. Ng Swee Guan from Ministry of Education. So today we are very honored to have Mr. Ng Swee Guan with us. Let me share my screen. Okay, so Mr. Ng is a special education teacher, and Mr. Ng is also the former assistant director of special education unit in Ministry of Education. And today we are very honored to invite Mr. Ng to share with us about inclusion and special education. This is the questions faced by I think many parents about what are the criteria of inclusive education program in Malaysia, how to decide between inclusive education and special education, and also supports available for students with autism in the public school system. So, Mr. Ng, today, together with us, we have actually more than 50% of parents, and we also have some medical professionals and also speech therapists. So, I believe that these questions are not only faced by the parents, but also by doctors and therapists, because these are the professions that frequently meet with the parents. So I think knowing what are the criteria of inclusive education in Malaysia and how to decide between inclusive education and special educations are really important. So without further ado, let me pass the session to you, Mr. Ng.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Low. First of all, my appreciation to Brainbow, USM, Aware, Understand, and Actions. Great opportunity for me to be here tonight. Really thanking Dr. Low for contacting me and getting myself involved in all this talk about inclusion and special education. So I will start my session. Just let me share my slide now. Okay, so can you all see the slide now?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So it's wonderful to see that so many parents joining us tonight, as well as the medical professionals, as well as some speech pathologists, or probably some psychologists, or all these people concerning our special kids. So again, as I said, we're going to talk about inclusion or special educations. How do we go around and make the decision for our kids? Right. So all the information given in these talks are referring to the Plan Pembangunan Pendidikan Malaysia 2013 until 2025. Probably some of you have seen this book. So this is a really thick book. It's all been planned under the Plan Pembangunan Pendidikan Malaysia from 2013 until 2025. So we are in 2022 now. So basically, part of the things has been carried out right up until now, 2022. Okay. So the categories of children with special education needs. So these are the categories involved in Malaysian schools: hearing impairment, visual impairment, speech difficulties, learning difficulties, physical disabilities, multiple as well, and the last one, it will be mental disabilities. So these are the categories that the students are in our special school today. So they are basically given the opportunity to be in schools, right? Okay. So special education, firstly, I would like to get all the participants or all the parents to know that there are different kinds of schools that under the Ministry of Education. So the first one will be Sekolah Pendidikan Khas, or usually we call them as SPK, Sekolah Pendidikan Khas. So these students involved are visual impairment, hearing impairment, and learning difficulties. So there are basically 34 schools right now, and the new one will be coming in Penang. There's another additional secondary school in Penang. So that's 3 primary school and 2 secondary school in Penang, right? So all total will be 35. So this is last year's what do you call that, information. So we're gonna have another new one coming up this new school term, right? So as you can see that the schools are all scattered around West and East Malaysia, right? You can see that basically most of the states will have primary school as well as secondary schools. Okay, so these are all special kids in these particular schools. So they are all special kids. So that's why they are called Sekolah Pendidikan Khas, and the school names started with SKPK, Sekolah Kebangsaan Pendidikan Khas, or SMPK, Sekolah Menengah Pendidikan Khas, and the other vocational is SMPKB, Sekolah Menengah Pendidikan Khas Vocational, SMPKV, right? So just some information for parents to know. And the next category is the Program Pendidikan Khas Integrasi, or usually it's known as PPKI. So the PPKI is having learning difficulties, or LD, visual impairment, as well as the hearing impairment, right? So these schools are together in an ordinary school, which scattered all around the states. For instance, let's say in Penang, we have about 75 total PPKI school. The total school for the whole Penang is about 400 schools, but there are 75 with PPKI programs. It means that there are certain schools are in secondary schools and certain schools are in primary schools. But the total, this is the figure for the total PPKI program throughout Malaysia. So we have 852 programs. That means there are 850 secondary school with PPKI program, all right? And for primary school, we have hold on, the primary school is at 1,595 out of 7,780, right? So that's 20%. The secondary school, 852 out of 2,440. So that is about 35%. All right. So total school is about 10,000 plus schools. So there are about 2,447 primary and secondary school throughout the country with PPKI program. So the PPI program basically in an ordinary normal schools, which we call as Sekolah Kebangsaan or Sekolah Rendah Jenis Kebangsaan Cina or Sekolah Rendah Jenis Kebangsaan Tamil, but they have PPKI program in that particular schools. All right, so not all. In Penang, let's say, for instance, there are 400 schools, but there are only 75 with PPKI programs. Okay, all right. So, and then this is program inclusive. So, program inclusive learning difficulties, visual impairment, as well as hearing impairment. So, this inclusive basically students study. It could be in an ordinary schools, SK, Sekolah Kebangsaan, Sekolah Rendah Jenis Kebangsaan Cina, or Sekolah Rendah Jenis Kebangsaan Tamil, right? With PPKI or also without PPKI. So they basically study in a normal class with the rest of the students, right? So they could be enrolled in an ordinary school without the PPKI or an ordinary school with PPKI program. So there are three categories basically. So parents must aware that they are SPK, they are PPKI, as well as the Pendidikan Inclusive. Okay, right. Program inclusive. Again, I want to talk about some of the rules and regulation. I mean, some of the acts, all right, that involved in pendidikan inklusif. As we can see here, that the Salamanca Statement and Framework for Action on Special Needs Education, 1994, country signs for this declaration. So it's a responsibility of the Ministry of Education to provide inclusive education for our children in Malaysia, right? So this is in bab 4 in muka surat 16 to 20 in Plan Pembangunan Pendidikan Malaysia 2013 until 2035. Okay, so we're going to talk more about the inclusive program pendidikan inklusif lah. So usually out there is known as PPI, Concept Program Pendidikan Inklusif. All right, so it has been within the system since a long time ago, right? So the student basically study together with the normal student. Okay, as you can see here at the bottom, the second portion of the statement stated that program pendidikan inklusif, suatu program pendidikan bagi murid berkeperluan pendidikan khas yang dihadiri oleh murid berkeperluan khas bersama-sama dengan murid lain dalam kelas sama di sekolah kerajaan atau sekolah bantuan kerajaan. Okay, so this is the matlamat. Why do we do that? Meningkatkan penyertaan dan juga memberi peluang. That's the most important thing. We want our students, our special kids are also known within the Ministry of Education, within the education in Malaysia, they are known as MBK Murid Berkeperluan Khas. When you see MBK means that our special kids, it's called, we don't call them OKU kids or all that, but we basically call them as MBK Murid Berkeperluan Khas. Okay, meningkatkan penyertaan dan memberi peluang MBK mengikuti program akademik dan bukan akademik bersama-sama murid di arus perdana in the normal classes. So the student, we want them to study together as well as involved in any non-academic sports or whatever together with the normal students. Okay, PPI juga memberi kesedaran kepada masyarakat supaya tidak menafikan potensi murid berkeperluan khas dan percaya bahawa ketidakupayaan mereka boleh diminimalkan jika diberi peluang. So this second statement here stated that we want to give them the opportunity to be able to study and also learn and also involve in all the activities together with the mainstream students. All right. Again, bilangan program inclusive. So this we have mentioned about the PPKI just now. So these are the schools with inclusive program. Jumlah keseluruhan sekolah. So there are 10,201. We have 6,346 schools providing pendidikan inclusive PPI. So that is 62%. That is a big portion of schools that is given that will have PPI program throughout Malaysia, right? So that is about 62% of total school 10,201. So pendekatan PPI is inklusif penuh, right? Murid berkeperluan khas belajar bersama sepenuh masa bersama-sama murid arus perdana. Murid berkeperluan khas mengikut pembelajaran bagi semua mata pelajaran akademik berasaskan kurikulum kebangsaan. So if those students are in PPI, they will follow the normal syllabus together with the mainstream students. All right. Inclusive separa. This is a new. I mean, it's not a new. It is the other concept that we want to involve them because certain students are not able to involved in all the activities. So even if certain students are able to join activities or maybe if they are in certain subjects, they are able to follow. So we want them to be in inclusive separa or partially inclusion. So murid berkeperluan khas belajar bersama-sama murid arus perdana bagi mata pelajaran akademik atau aktiviti co-curriculum tertentu sahaja mengikut keupayaan mereka. Alright, so some students are really good with drawing, for instance, so they will join the club seni and then that is considered as inclusive separa or partially inclusion. So as you can see that Ministry of Education are pretty flexible. So they're pretty flexible. It's not that they have to be involved fully in the inclusion program, fully involved in the normal, together with the normal students in total. But even if some of the students are able to follow certain subject, for instance, the certain kids are really good in mathematics, then they can join them during the mathematics lessons together with the normal kids in the aliran perdana. So that is inclusive separa. Okay. So the criteria of inclusion of education program in Malaysia. So first of all, there are a lot of concern from parents regarding whether they are able to send their kids to schools and on. So these are some of the legislations. For instance, Act 550, Education Act 1996, Chapter 3, Primary Education. It's a compulsory primary education. So parents, they do not have to be concerned whether any of the government schools are going to accept the kids in school, because it is a compulsory primary education. So as said in the Act 550, Minister to provide primary education. Okay, so they have to. It is a responsibility of the Ministry of Education to provide education for all Malaysian kids, whether they are MBK or they are ordinary mainstream students, right? So under this act, there's no schools that can reject, right? Reject any students or any Malaysian child to further study or to follow any education in the government schools, right? Again, on Chapter 8, special education. So the ministry shall provide special education in special school, right? So again, it is the responsibility of the Ministry of Education to provide special education if needed, all right, for our MBK, murid berkeperluan khas. So these are all within the Act 550. So it is a law of the country that the Ministry of Education cannot, or they have to provide, and they cannot reject any child who wanted to study in the government school, right? Okay, again, since 2019, we have zero reject policy. To strengthen the ACTA 550, again, we understand that there are many parents who complains that when they try to register the kids in the schools, in the government schools, they've been rejected. So this is another new thing that came out in 2019, zero reject policy. So the Ministry of Education or any government school per se, that they cannot reject any child who wanted to register in any government school. All right. So these are some of the statements given for the zero reject policy. All right. As you can see, berpandu kepada Akta 550, Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia menegaskan bahawa murid berkeperluan khas berhak untuk menerima pendidikan wajib di peringkat sekolah rendah. So we are trying basically to increase right up to secondary school to Form 5, up to 17 years old, but so far it is still right up until primary age of 12 compulsory education. So they are trying to do that now. Hopefully it will be successful. So all the kids, or all the Malaysian child will have to stay in school right up until 17 years old. Okay. The second one is murid berkeperluan khas berhak untuk menerima pendidikan yang selari dengan ketidakupayaan mereka, sama ada ke sekolah pendidikan khas atau sekolah-sekolah biasa mainstream melalui program pendidikan inklusif atau program pendidikan khas integrasi PPKI. So it depending on the severity, so the kids are able to be placed in these three categories. Okay. Again, surat pelaksanaan zero reject policy bagi memberikan akses pendidikan kepada murid berkeperluan khas mulai tahun 2019. So this is the letter the KPM 161/25 jilid 13. So this is basically the letters that have been sent out to all JPN, Jabatan pendidikan negeri, right? And it has been circulated in PPD, Pejabat Pendidikan Daerah, as well as the school. It's at all 10,206 schools throughout the whole country, right? So this is the letter. So just for parents, if there's any schools, principals or teachers or senior assistants saying that you are not able to send the kids to school, that is totally wrong. That's totally wrong. So with the Act 550 as well as this zero reject policy things, they will have to accept your child in the school. Okay. So again, these are some of the information regarding zero reject policy again. Right, as I said, nobody can reject your child. Okay, so again, there's some question. Bagaimanakah pelaksanaan zero reject policy? Semua murid berkeperluan khas perlu diterima masuk ke mana-mana sekolah pilihan. Bagi murid berkeperluan khas MBK, prasekolah tertakluk kepada dasar sedia ada surat siaran. Okay, so this, as you can see, it is very clearly stated under the Ministry of Education, under this ZRP, zero reject policy, that all students must be acceptable to be registered in any of the government school. No schools head or school principal or any teachers supposed to reject any of our child trying to registering themselves in the school. Okay. Right, percubaan. Okay, again, as you all see that number 3, adakah tempoh percubaan tidak melebihi 3 bulan masih berkuasa? Yes, tempoh percubaan tidak melebihi 3 bulan. So your child are able to be in any of those category schools for 3 months. So for the first 3 months, it's kind of like a trial periods for them to be placed, whether they are in PPI, in PPKI, or even in SPK, Sekolah Pendidikan Khas. So there's this rules of 3-month things for them to try out, see whether they are suitable. If they are not, then the parents can discuss with teachers, and they can request to be transferred from one program to another program. Okay. Okay, again, adakah pihak sekolah boleh menangguh persekolahan murid berkeperluan khas yang telah berdaftar? Pihak sekolah tidak boleh. The school cannot menangguh persekolahan murid berkeperluan khas yang telah berdaftar. School cannot make any what they call that penangguhan. Right, the school saying that your child cannot come, or maybe the child you have to come next year or so, you know. But only parents can make that decision. Right, there's this thing that I will come in later on at the back, that parents are able to apply for penangguhan or delay in going into school. So the parents have to apply, not the school. The school doesn't make. The school do not make decision for the kids. Only the parents can do that. Alright. Okay. Adakah ibu bapa penjaga boleh memohon penangguhan? Okay. See, this is the one that I've been talking about it. Ibu bapa penjaga boleh memohon penangguhan persekolahan murid berkeperluan khas yang telah berdaftar kepada pihak sekolah dengan mengemukakan surat permohonan dan juga seluruh dokumen sokongan. I will go into this later on at the end of this talk. Okay. Again, adakah murid berkelas boleh mengikuti pembelajaran di program pendidikan inklusif walaupun tidak boleh mengurus diri? Okay, again, this is also a very famous question being posed by parents to me. So, murid berkeperluan boleh mengikuti program pembelajaran di PPI dengan syarat ibu bapa penjaga komite perlu terlibat dalam pengurusan diri murid berkeperluan khas semasa sesi pembelajaran sebagai sukarelawan. Again, this is a way for parents to be in the school. Again, as I said, there are parents who are trying to get into schools to try to help their child in school. It has been rejected many times by school heads and school principal or teachers as well. There's this way or avenue that parents can be in the school. I will go deep into this at the end of this talk as well. Okay. Okay, how to decide? Okay, the first is severity, mild, moderate, severe, high function or low function. Second, parents' expectation, and the third one is availability of special school and or mainstream schools. So if you look at the whole three categories of schools that's available, as I said earlier, the SPK, Sekolah Pendidikan Khas, PPKI, and also PPI, Program Pendidikan Inklusif. It is parents are able to transfer. There's no hindrance. All right, schools cannot reject a mainstream school, as you can see the first one. You can go to PPKI integrasi, and from integrasi you can go to special education. Vice versa means that you can go up and down, means that you can go from one program to another program. But what I would usually recommend to parents is that they will go from mainstream school first. This is a very common advice that I usually give to parents. Start from mainstream. Look at the periods that's given, 3 months for trial. And from there, parents and teachers can talk about it and discuss, and also decide whether the child are able to be in mainstream school or PPKI, inclusive program, right? If not, then the child are not able to cope with the syllabus, then the next steps will be trying to get into PPKI, integrasi, all right? Then 3 months, again, trial periods applies. And if not able again, then parents should go to special education schools. I would recommend from mainstream down to special education, because usually it is a bit difficult for students who are in special schools to go to PPKI, or even from PPKI to go to mainstream schools. All right, so I will always advise parents start from mainstream. If the child, as I said, always we give the child the opportunity first to try in mainstream, which apply. The second point that I wanted to talk is about the parents' expectations. Some parents put a very high expectation for their child, so they are they are not able to be, let's say, in a mainstream school, right? But they still want their child to stay there in the mainstream school in PPI program, and it gives a lot of pressure to the child. So, but again, if the parents are all right, so certain kids, MBK kids, are able to cope, even though they are not really, scoring high grades in the class and all that, but they're doing okay. They're passing the thing, and then they're doing quite well together with the rest of the classmates, the friends, and then they are also involving in a lot of activities in school. Then the parents are feeling all right for them to stay there, so that's perfectly fine. So they can just stay in the mainstream schools. But again, if there's problems that arises in schools, teacher usually will call the parents and discuss with them, and have a heart-to-heart talk with the teachers. If there's any possibility that you might want to transfer to PPKI, or even from PPKI to special education. So that's the most important thing that parents should be aware. So as I said, start from mainstream, then go down slowly to PPKI, and the last one will be special education school. All right. There are also, again, on the third point is the availability of special school. Again, some parents are staying in certain area which do not have PPKI programs or special education school, SPK, Sekolah Pendidikan Khas. So again, they will make certain decision that they will stay in PPI, even though some kids are not able to follow, yet they still would prefer that the child stay near the house, because they're not able to send the kids to PPKI, for instance, or special school which is further away, so they will stay in mainstream school. So these are some of the criteria that the parents take. But as I said, the golden rules for me, which I will advise to parents, is that start from mainstream, give them the opportunity, try out for 3 months and see what happens. If the parents are quite happy with the progress for the child in school, stay there, let it be. If not, then probably discuss with teachers. Then the next step will be PPKI. And again, if they're not able to cope in PPKI, then they might want to decide to go to special education school, SPK. All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, Mr. Ng, we have learned from you that there are 3 types of education options for children with special needs, including those on the spectrum of autism. So, we have the special school option, we have the PPKI, or what we call the Special Education Integration Program, and we also have the inclusive program.
Yep.
And we are aware that Malaysia, we actually have a very strong policy that protect the educational rights of all our students, including those with special needs. And those policies also ensure that the needs of the students are met, and also allow rooms where parents can go in the school to collaborate with the teachers.
Correct.
Yeah. And you also mentioned to us, what are the routes of choosing the school placement. So you have advised us that it's good for parents to first think about inclusive education.
Correct.
And then if inclusive education is not a suitable option, then only try PPKI and special education school. And we are aware from your sharing that currently all over Malaysia, we have around maybe 25 to 30% of schools have the PPKI facilities.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think with that is actually, though we know that in Malaysia there are still rooms for us to improve, but it's good to know that there are actually policies and some system in place. Yeah. Okay, so currently we have questions, but maybe we will keep all the questions and we will do the Q&A later. So, Mr. Ng, if parents they want to apply school for their children with autism and other special needs, what would be the process? Do they apply through the online system, or is there any standard protocol that the parents should know?
Okay, thank you. So the parents should apply through online. Every child in Malaysia to go to government school, they have to apply online. So that is the basic things that they go through. Usually, you will start from 5 years old, and the registration will start from the 1st of March up until the end of March for 5 years old. And the latest will be when the child is 6 years old. Again, same, they can register from the 1st of March right up until 31st of March. Whether the parents decide to delay later, somehow they will still have to register. They have to register any schools of their choice first.
Okay, so they should register their child when the child turns 4 years old or 6 years old, and the registration will be in the month of March.
Correct.
So if their child needs special education arrangement, what should the parents do if they are already aware that their child needs additional supports in education?
So we will come to that thing now. I'm gonna continue with the talk, which I will talk about the support for students. Right. So when the childs are in school, so the childs are with OKU cards, so they will get rancangan makanan tambahan (RMT). Okay. Then after that, there will be 2 years extra schooling years. Then extra time for exam. Again, also vocational training, SMPKV. as I mentioned earlier, some of the schools are providing vocational training for our special kids. And also, they have a new program whereby all secondary school with PPKI program will have technical subject. They will choose a technical subject and they will teach them in secondary school now. All right. Also, in this special school and also PPKI, they will have pembantu pengurusan murid. We call them PPI. They are known as PPI. That means kind of like a teacher assistant. And also, as I said, a volunteering program for parents, because some parents are because they decide to stay back in school, and they can use this volunteering program to stay in school. So they need to talk to the school principal, get their approval under this volunteering program, and then the parents can stay in school during school hours. In case if any of the our special kids needs help, then the parents are around within the school compound. They can provide help to their child immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Beside, and the last one will be special intake to local universities and also IPG teachers. We have actually students with OKU card under our special school, whether they are in PPI, PPKI, or even in SPK. They have special intakes to local university, as well as the IPG, Institute Latihan Perguruan. They are taking in special intake for our special students to be teachers. So these are some of the supports for students in schools. Right.
So it's very important that we all know about this information. Otherwise, we don't know where to seek for those special arrangements. And I think the information that you share help us to correct some misconceptions or also misunderstanding about what are the supports and facilities that we have. So there are people who say that having the label of special needs might actually become a barrier into university, but it seems that there are also other ways and other routes that they can try to go into university. So it's very encouraging to know that.
So again, okay, so we are coming to permohonan penangguhan, pengecualian. So I will always tell parents that if they think their childs are not ready to get into year one, for instance, so this is another way for them to take that they can basically apply the additional 2 years extra schooling years, as I mentioned in the supports, the 2 years extra schooling years. So they can apply for penangguhan, means delay going into year one. Of course, we do understand that our autistic child, some might have delays, all right? So they can basically apply, parents can apply. Parents will have to do the application. They will have to fill up this borang PPW dua, and they can apply to delay their entry into year one. All right. For instance, if the child, let's say, for instance, the child will go into year one this year, 2021, that will be next week, starting a new school term. If they are given the approval, they will not come to school next week. They will come the following year, 2023, to year one. So it means that they delay for 1 year.
Yeah.
And they have 2 years. Each application is only applicable for 1 year. All right. If they want the second year, they will have to reapply. But when the kids are in school, for instance, they don't call it delay. We call it repeats. Means that if certain kids, I will always advise parents that if, let's say, the child are in school, they are not able, for instance, those days they have to sit for UPSR. When they are in year 5, they are not able to cope. And then I will always ask parents to apply for a repeat in year 5 for 2 years. So then they can have more time to prepare for the exams. So of course, again, now because of the abolition of the UPSR, they can use those these facilities for Form 4 when they are supposed to sit for SPM when they are in Form 5. So when they are in Form 4, they can apply to repeat. Means that the friends will be going to year 5 the following year, for instance, but they will stay in Form 4 for another year. So there'll be additional
Yeah.
year for them to get ready to sit for the
So,
exams.
Mr. Ng, you say every time they apply, they can only apply for 1 year.
Correct.
And are they entitled to apply 2 times? Or
Yes, they are entitled to apply. Yes, parents will have
okay.
to
Decide.
they have to decide to apply. School will
Okay.
never decide for your child.
Yeah.
Means that the parents must know that there are this facility. This facility are specifically given to them so that they can have more time to get their child ready for education. Whether they are going into year 1 or is sitting for the exam or whatever. So these 2 additional years will be very useful for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what happens if the parents have applied twice and they realize that they might want to apply for another year? Is it possible to do so?
No, that's the maximum of 2 years. So schooling years will be from 17, from 5 right up until 19. So that's the maximum years that they can be in schools.
Okay.
Yeah. So sorry to say that there's only 2 years of extra schooling years. Okay. Right. So these are some of the documents in the Borang PPW2 for the parents to get ready. Yes. Salinan kad pengenalan ibu bapa, salinan sijil anak, salinan asal. They need a medical report, original medical report, as well as document line, any other documents that supports their child to be given, let's say, therapies, speech therapies, or any other kind of therapies, OT or whatsoever. So those documents are also useful when they apply, just to let the Ministry of Education people know that the child need this extra year for them to be ready, in schools later on. So these are some of the documents just for parents, so that you all are aware that there are such a facility for you to use. Okay. Okay, this one is another way for parents to get into school. Again, there are many parents are trying to be with a child in schools. I do understand that their parents are sacrificing a lot for their kids, for their special kids especially. They want to stay with them in school. So again, there's no law whatsoever saying that parents can be in the school, except if they use this facility. So that is the Sukarelawan volunteering program for parents to be in the schools. So the parents will be in the school helping the schools in certain ways, but of course at the same time they can keep an eye on their child. So I've advised some parents has been using this facility, and which help the kids, their child a lot in schools. But also I would advise parents that up to a certain point, if a child are able to be independent, I will also advise them to leave the child in school, so they don't have to stay in school. So at the beginning, most of the time, so they might need to have this facility. So when the child are able to cope, then we will ask the parents to leave, so that the school will take over from there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So these are the concepts and some of the things in the letters, and the scope and all that. So just to let the parents knows about all these things.
Yeah.
Right?
So, Mr. Ng, we actually have quite a number of questions coming in. So perhaps we should take a 1 minute break for you to get a cup of water, and then we will proceed with the Q&A session.
Okay, sure. No problem.
So for all audience, thank you for joining us tonight. So now we will let Mr. Ng to take a sip of water, and we will continue with the Q&A session. So we have seen that there are quite a number of questions coming in. So we will, Mr. Ng will help us to address this question in a little while. So while waiting for Mr. Ng to come back, so we are going to share with you a resource that USM has developed. So there are parents who say that, no, what's the point of sending our child to inclusive school if, no, maybe the teachers are not trained in teaching students with special needs. So in University Science Malaysia, we are aware of this situation that Malaysia is facing now. So recently we have developed a resource called the Khamdy resource. So later we will share with you more information about this resource. So now perhaps we can watch a short clip about how Khamdy teacher helps him in school. So I'll be sharing the video with you, and later we will come back to have the Q&A session with Mr. Ng.
Unit 13. Khamdy goes to primary school. Khamdy is very sensitive to sounds and lights. Like many children with autism, Khamdy can experience sensory overload if he is in an environment that is too noisy or has too many distracting decorations. There are too many decorations in the classroom. To help Khamdy focus in the classroom, Teacher Daisy makes a noisometer and puts it in the classroom. She uses this visual aid to teach and remind everyone about the right level of loudness when they talk in the classroom. This helps her to keep the classroom noise at a low level for Khamdy and other students. She also removes clutter and unnecessary decorations in the classroom. She even prepares a wooden chair for Khamdy when she realizes that he does not like to sit on a plastic chair. Students, it's group work time. Please talk quietly. This morning, Teacher Daisy is teaching subtraction. While she allows students who have almost mastered subtraction to just use paper and pencil, she lets Khamdy and 2 other students who are slower count using blocks. She also prepares a simpler subtraction worksheet for Khamdy and the 2 students. During teaching, Teacher Daisy makes sure that she gives Khamdy explicit step-by-step instructions to help him follow and understand all details in the instructions. Instead of saying, "Get ready for science," she now says, "Everyone, take out your science book, turn to page 10.
Okay, so that is a short video about the Khamdy resource. So Khamdy is actually a fictional child with autism that we created to resemble a lot of experience that children with autism face, including the challenges that the families and the teachers face in supporting them. So we are hoping that with having the right strategies could actually help the child to have the best experience in inclusive learning environment. So yeah, so just like what Mr. Ng has shared with us, we want our child to achieve their optimal potential, and we believe that inclusive program or inclusive school will be a place where they can actually scratch their potential to the fullest. Yeah. So, Mr. Ng, are you ready to take some questions from the audience? Yeah. So, there is a questions about a location of spots for PPKI and SPK. So, the question is from Rachel. She asked that if a child is not suitable for mainstream and need to go down PPKI, would there readily available spots?
Oh, yes. It is. There are many schools providing PPKI programs. The main thing is that to approach any of the state department, education department. I'm not sure whether Rachel is in which states currently. The best thing is to approach any of the state education department and ask them about the nearest PPKI program schools that is available around their hometown or their place.
Their place.
From there you can decide. Yes, from there you can decide. If there's any other schools with what do you call that, overload, some because classes are only there are only 8 students in one class. If some of the schools are not able to take them in, then the officer will recommend them another school that is around the area. Basically, there are many primary schools and secondary schools around with PPKI program. Okay.
Yeah, just like the statistic you showed us, it's like about 25 to 30% of schools with PPKI.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think what the parents can do is, in every state there is actually a special education unit in the Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri. So the officers there are usually the one that can guide the parents and also answer the parents' question. So it might be useful to make a visit to the Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri when they have questions. Yeah. So another question is from Yenis Wong. Yenis asked that are all the schools having PPI, Program Pendidikan Inclusive?
Yes, all the schools are having a PPI program. Yes. So if the child, as I said, PPI programs can be anywhere. Whether the school with PPKI program or no PPKI program or non-PPKI program. So they could be in any. So there are certain schools which are not in the statistic, as I mentioned earlier. Those schools do not have any student with OKU card. All right. So if there's any child with OKU cards and they want to be in a normal or mainstream class, so they will register as a PPI school.
Okay, so which means as long as one student with special needs are enrolled in the class,
yes,
the school will automatically become a PPI
in the
school.
PPI. Yes, correct. They will be listed in the PPI.
And they will get the support when needed from the ministry.
Correct. That's true. That's true.
So there is a question from Sing Yi. She asked, where can I get resources or a list of schools that provide PPI, PPKI, and SPK education?
So as I mentioned earlier, so approach the nearest Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri lah. So there will be this sector pendidikan khas. So the SPK, sector pendidikan khas, will be in charge of special education in the state, in the particular state. So just see any other officer there, and then you can get the information from them lah. Most probably they will ask you where are you from, probably like from which daerah, which district and all that. Then they will give you a list of schools around the area, and then you can decide which school that you wanted to go. And another point that I would like to stress here is that, of course, when parents, they've got the list, what I would advise them is that to go and pay a visit to any of the PPKI schools before you register your child in the school. It is a bit difficult now. It's not impossible, but it's just a matter of because of the COVID now. So what you need to do is to call the school first, make an appointment with the school principal, and then follow their schedule, and then pay them a visit, and just go around the PPKI programs, classes, and all that. Just have a look at it. If you're satisfied with the environment, you're satisfied with the things that are going on there, then you can register your child in that school.
All right. Okay. Good to know that. Yeah. Okay. And there is a question from Yo. Yo say that there are certain primary school that has pre-assessment tests to decide whether the kid could enter the school. Is this a legal procedure?
It is considered as illegal. They're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to. But of course, there are certain schools doing it on their own. Basically what they do is to just kind of like getting to know the child in terms of their education level, so that it's much easier for them to place them in certain classes, in the schools. So they kind of like pull them, in certain grades of students in what level, then in one class. So that's the reason why that so-called entry examination has been
Yeah.
organized, but the Ministry of Education has not instructed any schools to run this kind of tests for these children. Yep.
Okay. All right. And there is a question from Isabel. For parents who wants to volunteer in school, how do they apply? Must their kid be registered with the ministry as special needs child, or if doctor diagnosis is enough? Where can they check guidelines for this?
Okay, so the guidelines will be, you can just Google the Sukarelawan Sekolah. So there will be this memo or letters with all the conditions stated in the letters. So basically what you can do is very simple. Approach the schools that you want your child to be in, and then talk to the school principal saying that you are interested in the voluntary program. And the school will give you the forms, and you will fill out the forms, and once it's given approval, then you can join. You can join to be as a volunteer in any particular schools. So there are certain criteria within their volunteering programs. So basically, what the parents can do in school is to help out, for instance, in the canteen or in the school libraries and all that. But of course, what is more important is that the parents are able to be in the schools, close to the child. So if any of the child's needed help immediately, so the parents will be around there.
Okay.
All right. So I've got certain cases whereby the schools are very accommodating. So they allow the parents to be in the class together with the teachers. But supposedly under this voluntary program, they are not supposed to be in the class together with the teachers during lessons. But there are certain parents are given the opportunity to be in the class. All right. So this is a very good opportunity. As I said, you use this voluntary program to be a stepping stone to be in the schools.
Yeah.
Right. Get close to the schools, and then get to know the school teachers as well as the school management and all that. Once they've got your trust and everything, they will allow you to be in the class. Then you can help out your child during lesson in the class. All right.
Okay. All right. So there is a questions. Well, we have really a long list of questions. So, but due to the time, I think we will just take additional 3 questions. Yeah.
Okay.
So, there is another question from Rachel Pang. Is voluntary program still available in view of COVID-19 condition?
So this is a very tricky things that comes in, and especially during the COVID-19 situations. Currently, we have put a stops to all this because we do not want the COVID things, to be. So we would love to have this COVID thing settled down. Then parents can join, can go in as volunteers in the school. So particularly right now, non-parents, or not just parents, basically, but anybody out from outside is prohibited unless it is emergency cases. So then they will still have to get in touch with the school principal first, tell them their intention, or make an appointment first, tell them their intention, and then they are allowed to be in school. But of course, during this COVID thing, it is not possible. Sorry to say, it's not possible. So we just hope that the COVID will go off ASAP, and the parents are able to be involved in this voluntary program. Yep.
Yeah. So there is another question from Rai Anwar. Rai say, my son is showing positive progress into becoming high functioning, and he has OKU card. So does it mean that I have to register him under BPKI or I think inclusive program first, BKI? And if he is in the BKI program, shall I disregard the OKU card?
No, it's perfectly fine to have the OKU card, whether you are in PPKI or inclusion program or even in SBK. The difference with the card or without the card is that if those students with the OKU card, they will get the facility, for instance, the EMK, the allowance murid cards, the extra, extra time for exams. and also the RMT, Rancangan Makanan Tambahan.
Yeah.
All right. So this
even they are in the inclusive program, they
correct. They will get all these facilities.
still can enjoy the benefits.
Yes, they can enjoy all these facilities. Yeah. So again, also I would always advise parents. There are what I call it. Have doubts about getting the OKU card. Use it, when you can. For instance, when the child have gone to secondary school, they've gone and sit for the major examinations and all that. So when you have these cards, you can have special entry into the local universities. Under
so
different intake. Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, instead of waiting right up until when they at the end of their schooling years, and then you realize that there's such facility, then only you're applying, then it might take a lot of difficulties. Some doctors might have not approved and to sign the application forms and all that. So you have the cards now, get the facility. If you do not want all those facilities, you don't have to show the school. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. All right. So, of course. Again, yeah.
Yeah. So we will take one last questions, but for those questions that we are unable to address, Mr. Ng, will you be happy if we will look through the questions and to maybe reply them at a later time? Yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
So for the last question is from Hang Hao Jin. She asked, she had applied delaying 1 year for the child. So the child will actually go to school into 2023.
Okay.
But now she is considering the option of homeschool. So what is the procedure?
Okay. So to go to homeschooling, parents will have to fill up PPW1. So again, delaying is PPW2. For homeschooling, you can just type into the Google PPW1 homeschooling. Then the forms will come out. Then you can just print it out and fill up the forms, and then just submit it into the at the state education department. So they will process the thing. Then the parents can register their kids in homeschooling programs.
Okay. So there are two forms. PPW2 is to apply for a delay. 1 year.
Correct.
And PPW1 is to apply for the option of homeschool.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Those two forms, parents can either Google and download it from internet, or I think our assistant have also actually sent the soft copy version in the comment box. So for parents who are interested to obtain the forms now, you can actually scroll through the comment box. You'll be able to find the link to download those forms, and those links were actually shared by Mr. Ng. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Ng. So before you leave, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you the resource that USM has developed. Maybe we can look through it and to see how this resource can actually help the parents and also teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, so just give me a while to. Okay, let me see. So, okay, so so we again, while waiting for the slides to reload, we are very grateful that Mr. Ng is here today. So Mr. Ng, the reason that we start doing this AUA community talk is because USM, we realized that in order to actually make inclusive education and inclusive experience sustainable for children with special needs, it's important for us to have the suitable resources. So I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our aim and vision, and also the resource that we have developed, which is called the Story of Khamdy. So Brainbow is a spin-off company of University Science Malaysia, and the setup of this company is to uphold USM mission to transform special education for sustainable development. Okay, I'm going round the circle. Okay, so Khamdy is actually a resource which is about using a storytelling method to, to actually deliver information about how to support children with autism in inclusive environments, which is home and school, because we know that increasingly more children are now going into inclusive school, and we know that there are many strategies that teachers and parents can use to support them in inclusive environment. So we have created this fictional story with Khamdy is the main character in the story, and the story actually is from the birth of Khamdy until when he is teenage. And over the story, there are over 100 strategies that the teachers and parents are used to to support Khamdy in his learning. So these are 20 topics that we include in this particular resource. When Khamdy was young, we talked about the intervention strategies, and when Khamdy go to preschool, we start discussing about how to help Khamdy to get familiar with the school routine, how to help Khamdy to learn positive behaviors, and how to help Khamdy to learn language, communication. And when Khamdy go to primary school, we was talking about how to help Khamdy to learn to regulate the emotion, to learn executive functioning skills, and to learn to maintain friendships. So all is in the format of storytelling. We showcase how teachers can use this strategy in different environments. So these are some of the pictures that illustrate how the teachers, the therapists, and parents are using different strategies to help Khamdy. So all these strategies that we compiled within this resource actually went through 4 years of research and development, and about $500,000 of investment was actually put in to develop this resource and to test its efficacy. Yeah, so and the reason why we do this is we want the strategies to be accessible by all people, not only by experts or by academicians, but we use storytelling and simple language to make sure that the skills and the strategies are accessible by all people in the community. So the beginning of this story was actually a project funded by the Head Foundation, and we actually went to Laos, which is a small country on top of Thailand, to train the teachers. And when we went there, we realized that it was very difficult because Laos language is very different from English, and we can't actually communicate effectively. So that is the reason we came out with the idea of using storytelling method to share with parents and teachers about what is autism and how to support children with autism. And this ended up to be quite a fruitful trip, which led us to produce this resource. And this resource also obtained the recognition from the top academic journals in the field. And other than that, it also had won multiple awards across the last 4 years, including the most prestigious awards in the Malaysian Technology Expo. We actually won the best award in the category of information pedagogy. So, and these are the collaborators that work together with us in developing this resource and in currently, introducing this resource to the Malaysia community. So our resource, what is special about this resource is perhaps one of the very limited available one, which we developed in Asia for the diverse ability learners in Asia. And it is tested in research. More than 600 teachers and pre-service teachers were trained using this resource, and we see a significant improvement in their knowledge and skills when they do the training using the books and our online module. And again, other unique characteristics about this resource is in some resources, when we talk about autism or other form of learning challenges, we always look at the weakness. But in this resource, we look at the strength and we focus on the solutions and the strategies. And most of the solution and strategies that we offer through this story is natural strategy, which means parents no need to actually spend a lot of money to go to find specific equipments to teach their child. So in the story, we share that how parents and teachers can use available resources that they have in school and home setting to support children with autism to learn more effectively. So one way for us to optimize the benefits of this resource is through our BOC plan. So in this plan, we have the books where parents can refer, and it is a full color illustration book with 20 topics as I have just shown, and it's 439 pages, so it's relatively thick, and it follows the story of Khamdy from birth to teenage. And we also have the online resource. It's an annual subscription. So parents or teachers who sign up the BOC plan, they will get an annual access to this online resource. And this online resource, we have the story delivered in video. And we also have reflective activities that the parents can do in order to help them to understand better those strategies used. And we also have demo videos to illustrate how these strategies can be used in real setting. And we will be keeping all the live webinar in this online module as well. Okay, and more importantly, we feel that I am a mother myself, and I know that I am very determined to learn parenting skills. But a lot of time, I will buy books, I will buy apps, I will buy online modules, but I will just leave it there. Yeah, I think unfortunately, because we are all very busy, so there is a tendency to do that. So in order to make the learning more effective, we introduce the most important component of this resource, which is the community practice. So we will have monthly interactive session where the parents can come in just like today, where they can talk to different professionals and also maybe different parents, and to share useful tips and insights on how to support their child. And all these sessions will be actually recorded and to load into that online access. So if they couldn't attend in live, they can actually go into our online platform to look at the video again. And all the resources will be kept there for them to access at their free time. And if they attend the live session, they will be able to ask questions like what's happening today. Mm-hmm. So, and again, for parents who have, or even teachers who subscribe to this plan, they are also entitled for other benefits, which we are going to launch very soon, including the introducer program, and also the live workshop where they can actually meet the professionals in person to actually do more activities to learn out the skills and the strategies. Yeah. So this is USM. We introduced a sustainable model. So no, we are offering this plan with a price of 480. Yeah, we know that the price is it's not like, no, it's not free, unfortunately. But the reason it's not free is because, no, all these resources we need to have the funding to maintain it, including the online platforms. We have to pay for it, and so the money that the parents put in, the parents will get it back through all these contents that we develop, and we will continue to develop for the parents. Okay, so this is our commitment, yeah, to the community. So with the price of 480, so these are all the resources that, you know, the parents and any subscriber will obtain. So if we look at the amount, is actually only RM1.30 per day. So with RM1.30 per day, parents get access to evidence-based knowledge, evidence-based, research-proven skills and strategies, and more importantly, the empowerment to support their children in inclusive learning environment. So, and because today is our first time we are having this community talk, so we are giving a special offer. So parents only need to pay RM1.10 per day in order to enjoy all this set of resources for a year. So today is a community talk special, which we are offering to the parents and all the audience today for the price of 400 to get access to all these resources for a year. So these are the payment options and also the order link. So I think order link, our admin has shared it in the comment box. Okay, so for parents or any audience today, if you are interested to know more about this resource, feel free to let us know. Okay, so yeah, so that is just a sharing about the resource that we could offer to parents and teachers from University Science Malaysia. Okay, so yeah, so but more importantly, I really have to thank Mr. Ng for your time today and for helping us to understand better what are the facilities and supports that we have now in Malaysia in education to help children with autism and other special educational needs. So Mr. Ng, is there any words that you want to tell our audience today before we end the talk?
Okay. Yeah, just words for parents. So get help as soon as possible. As usual, I do get a lot of calls from parents most of the time at the end when the child is supposed to go to school. So I will advise parents that if it's been diagnosed early, so get more information about education things as soon as possible so that you can have a proper planning for the child. As we all know that it will be a long process for the child to be in the schools. So get those information in hand and plan the future. I mean, plan the action that you're going to take for the child. All right?
Yeah. Okay. So it's important for us to actually get the right knowledge, the right information. And yeah, so, and I can see that in the past 10 years, as a community in Malaysia, we are actually, understand more about special educational needs and also about inclusion. So our hope in the future is to to deliver even better education services to our children, regardless of their abilities. And we know the importance of early identification and intervention. And now we know it is even more important to ensure that the children are getting the best educational options that they can. Because what happened now would actually be very impactful to what going to happen in their future. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Loh.
Yeah. And thank you to all people who stay with us for the past hour. And let's keep in touch. And next week, we are going to have Puan Nadia from Autism Malaysia to share his experience. So Puan Nadia will share with our community, her experience of raising 2 children with autism, the challenges that she has experienced, and she would like to actually share the experience so that the parents can get a better direction of which are a better way to go. So we are very grateful to have teachers, professionals like Mr. Ng, and also all the parents who are all of us in order to make our community better for children with autism. So thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Ng.
you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.